Okay, we're live.
Yay. Oh my goodness. I don't think I'm tired. I think it's all mold allergies. I'm going with that.
I'm starving.
You are.
I've been on a run the last few mornings, so it's like I don't normally I make my eggs, and I have a big breakfast and it holds me over, but now it's like, hey, I'll have a bar, I'll have a handful of berries, I'll have my shake, and now I'm like starving, but whatever, it's fine.
I laugh that my child went to non-sleepaway camp. She's doing this day camp, which is like meatballs. Remember that movie?
Yes, Ryan goes to a similar camp. Yes.
I can't believe they do it in Texas because it's so hot, and I keep waiting for her to say it's too hot, but they must do something. I don't even ask. Yes, I don't put the thing in her head. But she came home yesterday, this is why I'm tired, and said, Mom, I'm so scared of Bloody Mary. Do you remember that? I saw your post.
I did.
Yeah, I never even heard that, but I'm like,
by the way, great movie.
Supposed to be like sleepaway camp.
Sleepaway camp.
Nightmares.
You're talking about the movie, though, Sleepaway Camp. The old 80s horror movie, Sleepaway Camp.
I never saw
it. Oh, my God.
No, see, I never see any horror movies, but she was up all night. I'm scared of Bloody Mary. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she heard the story all wrong. But in her story, Bloody Mary, I think, fell and cut open her face. But I was like, seriously? We're supposed to do this at sleepaway camp, not day camp where they're home by 4.
Yeah, they don't care. Ryan hasn't really there's like the Slender Man thing and I don't even know anymore. There was some other bathroom Candyman-esque story that was going around.
Said. It was
I can't remember. It's Candyman, but not Candyman. It's which is another horror movie. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen any horror movies. I just always heard the one with the hook for the arm and the car and the date.
Oh, I knew what you did last summer.
Yes.
Yes.
Was that, well, yeah, but it was like, yeah, that's all I know. But oh my gosh, last night, I'm scared of Bloody Mary. But then this is who I am. I didn't do it because this is why I'm 5. I went upstairs to go to sleep, whatever time it was, and she was sound asleep. And I peeked in. I was like this tempted to run in there shouting, Bloody Mary.
You know what? I think I watched Ellen I watched Ellen a couple weeks ago, and I think it was months ago now. It was what's her face? The famous actress.
Horror movie actress?
No. Oh my gosh. Red hair, big smile, super famous, has twins.
Julia Roberts?
Yes, thank you.
I got that one.
Lewis, and I'm like, that's not right in my head.
I was thinking
Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts was telling a story on Ellen about, I think it was Julia Roberts. I'm 95% sure about how it's hysterical to her about how much she has a drive to scare her children.
Seriously, I did last night. I was like, so if I didn't realize she would be up both last night and for like the next 3 weeks, it was so tempting to run in there and just shout Bloody Mary. It's like yelling fire in a crowded theater.
My favorite thing ever to do is run. Ryan's wearing these headphones and he's like watching a YouTube video, and he watches these like Minecraft scary videos where it's like a horror theme. And he'll be on his computer and he'll be like this. He'll be like watching it like intently. And I'll go in his room and he doesn't know I'm there. And I'm standing right behind him. And I have the biggest smile on my face. And then I'll just like tap his shoulders or something. And he'll go, ah!
Mine will actively hide, but if you jump out at her, which I don't do, but the husband thinks it's funny, she can dish it out, but she can't take it. As
we've had that conversation because he gets me sometimes.
Yes, and it's like you can't do both.
I think it's funny. It builds character. And now Evan in the morning, because of course a 4-year-old doesn't he has no tact. So he comes down the stairs, you can hear him, he's like a herd of elephants.
Yes.
And then he sneaks after he's down the steps, and then he runs into the kitchen, he's like, ah! And I'm like, you got me, buddy. Like every morning, that's our thing.
All right. Bloody Mary. Okay, so we're ready. Okay, but I have my positive action exercises to try.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to talk that first, which is good because I skimmed it, but I haven't really read it, so you'll have to lead that whole conversation. And I have the Robin Roberts
yes
thing,
love that.
And I actually did listen to the entire speech, and I took out quotes that I wanted to share that are very wycwyc. So I will lead the Robin Roberts, and you can lead
perfect
the other one, and then we'll do an intro. And I'm going to name this one. I put in the title Robin Roberts speech about wycwyc because I thought it was funny and like clickbait-esque. I'm a horrible,
like BuzzFeed.
Yeah, I'm a horrible clickbaiter. Really, I'm bad at it. But then I thought, maybe people will think that Robin Roberts actually knows what wycwyc is.
And then we send it to Robin.
Yes.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, Robin. We love you. Great speech. Did you know that you should read the wycwyc book? Anyway. All right. So, but then what are we kind of ruined all of our intro.
Yes, I'm trying to think now really quick. I shared my Bloody Mary.
Well, I can, I stopped by field day today, so I can mention my wycwycing of school involvement and how I think just making an appearance is sometimes good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, I might talk about that, so we can talk about that.
Okay, and I got some good thoughts on positive and negative. Okay.
Positive and negative. Okay, we'll just go with it. Who's bringing in today? Who's bringing in?
You.
I'm bringing. All right, I shall bring in. Ready? Oh, I feel good today.
I need some water.
Yeah, I do too. I don't have my big chug-a-lug. All right. All right, ready? 21. Welcome to the wycwyc podcast, episode 21. I feel like doing like drum roll or something.
21. We're legal to drink now in the United States of America as a podcast.
As a podcast. 21. Well, 21 weeks. If we podcasted for 21 years, it would be quite interesting.
I have gotten really into podcasts, and I wonder if any of the people who listen to us also listen to the Gilmore Guys podcast. Have you ever even heard of that?
No.
They remind me so much of us. They'd probably be horrified I say that, but they started really recently. And what they do is go through every single old Gilmore Girls episode and do a matching podcast. So it's almost like we had talked about with the book. They are hilarious. They're guys. They're talking about fashion. They're ripping apart the pop culture and poking holes in continuity, but they just started as we do. So I've started them from the beginning, and you can hear them like, yeah, I don't think we're on iTunes yet. Are we? Oh, I don't even know. Like,
that's
it's so hilarious.
Funny. Yeah. You know what? I joke with the husband because we sit. Do you remember? Oh my gosh, what is it called? Magic Theater 3000.
Mystery Science Theater.
Theater 3000.
Yes, I got two today.
I joke with the husband because when we have our theater downstairs, remember we talked about a theater, and we watch movies every weekend, and we sit in the back, and we're like side by side, and I imagine the view from behind us, the silhouette view.
Oh, he loved that.
And him and I, when we're watching a movie that doesn't require a lot of paying attention, or if it's just like a silly, goofy movie or an old movie, or sometimes we watch even like old episodes of Miami Vice just because. We talk about it, and I guess everyone thinks that they're hysterical, but I think we are hysterical. And I said to him one day, I'm like, we should record ourselves from the back.
Yes,
and then strip the audio out and like put this up on YouTube. And I'm like, we could be like the he said, she said of like watching old 80s movies.
Seriously, it is. I can't even believe I'm enjoying it. But then it's like we talked about with our podcast back in the beginning when someone mentioned, I only like podcasts that teach you something, and they lay it out and I've learned a lot. And yes, that's not what I want, especially when I'm out in the heat walking the dog. These two are hilarious. They get so off track, and I would love that. We need to have them on, or them to have us on, but it's hilarious, and they've taken off. The Gilmore Guys.
Yeah, I enjoy, like, I think it's funny when I go for a walk or a run and I listen to a podcast, and I usually listen to Jillian. I enjoy I don't have a lot of time to listen to podcasts, so that's the podcast I choose to listen to.
Yes.
And actually I haven't listened to it in I'm probably like 18 episodes behind.
Which is sometimes awesome because
it is. Well, then I have when I travel, then it's great.
Yes.
I'm on a 5-hour flight or something. I just listen to them back to back, which is really cool. But I think it's hysterical when I'm running and they make me chuckle while I'm running. Like,
yes, that's
laughing. And then I think, it's really fun to kind of listen to at least people that you feel or their perspectives, or they're talking about like what you're interested in. So for you, Gilmore Girls, or for me, it's like I'm interested in just like Jillian's take on things. And actually,
it's chit chat
better. It is.
I remember you loved Freakonomics, and I but I want to hear the banter. I want to feel like I'm walking with friends if I'm by myself with the Golden Doodle. I think that's what it is.
No, you're right, because that one's a little bit more produced, where they do interviews.
Yes,
but I don't mind that. It depends on the Freakonomics one is cool because I'll look through and just find the topics I'm interested in, instead of listening to it week to week. You know what I mean? And the same thing about, I was listening to some NPR ones for a while. There's like the one where they just,
This American Life.
I love This American Life. And then there was one where they just do like pop culture news, kind of. I can't remember what it's called, but I was like enjoying that one. I'm kind of like a fly by night podcast listener. Like I listen to one for a few weeks and then I kind of pull out and then find
which you should never ever do with the wycwyc podcast.
You must listen to wycwyc weekly.
Always. Because you must join the Gilmore Guys. I'm going to tweet this to them. Maybe they'll listen to us.
The Gilmore Guys and it's cute.
They're hilarious.
It's traditionally a female-based show, so it's kind of cool to have a male perspective. I think, like, you know what, my friends and I should start like a horror movie.
Yes, because it's that same thing.
Because it's the same. Yeah, because we're like obsessed, and we watch. Like, if I can, my plan was to have like a monthly horror movie night with my girlfriends who are horror movie fans. But it, like, I don't know.
Do you have I love that we're totally off topic, but do you have a lot of them?
I do. And I feel like, because once you find them, you hold on to them, because not everyone likes horror movies. So,
and what do you like about the horror movies?
I don't know.
Is it the production? Do you look at and analyze like the makeup?
Yeah, I like being scared. So like, I love when a movie makes me scared and jumpy. And I don't know why. I think I've always been. I remember my mom likes sci-fi horror too. So maybe it's maybe it's just what I grew up with. But I remember there was a store called Far More, which was like,
I remember Far More, PHARMOR.
Yes.
Yes.
We had a Far More store. Oh my God, this is going to show how old I am. Are you ready? So
I forgot about that.
They used to have a corner. Now, this is when I was like 12, 13, right? There was a corner of Far More where you can rent VHS tapes.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, maybe I do remember that vaguely. I just remember Far More. It could be more, but why?
They were a quarter. Wow. And my brother and I, when we were, so I was 12, 13. He was like, gosh, I guess he was only 9 or 10. So Ryan's age. We rented every horror. Like, there was a point, like, we would go weekly or bi-weekly or whatever in my mind. And because it was a cheap place, my mom would get stock for the house and, stock up on stuff. And we would go, and you could rent them for like 2 weeks. And we would rent like 5 of them, all horror movies. And we would go down the line of horror movies on the shelves. And there was a point where we saw all of them.
See, I was into the books like Stephen King and all that, but never the movies.
I don't know why I love the movie. And then I grew up with it. Then I met a friend in high school or college. She lives far away, so we can't see them. But she was also a fan. So that was cool. And I thought, oh, another female. And we would go together in college. And then another friend who also went to college with me, who I befriended after college, which is odd. She's a fan. So her and I started watching. Then I met a girl at the gym who's a fan. Then so kind of like I'm like, oh, there's like 5 people I know now who are horror movie fans. And and the husband's not. So it's kind of nice. I have a separate.
But he will watch them, or no?
He will watch certain kinds. Like, because if you're a horror movie fan, there's like the slasher horror movies. There's like the spooky horror. I tend to enjoy the spooky religious-based horror movies because I was a Catholic schoolgirl. So I know the context of the
like Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby style stuff, yeah. And then there's like the sci-fi kind, the alien kind. Like, there's like all different levels of. I like. There's a station called Showtime Outer. I don't know, Cinemax Outer or something, like outer, like Twilight Zone-y, Outer Limits style. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I like it all.
That I could get into. Yes, it's so interesting that once you're into anything, whether it's like for us for the longest time, it was bodybuilding, and it's like there's that whole. When you're outside of it, you just think, oh, it's horror movies. But when you're in the subculture or whatever you want to call it, there are all these different layers.
Yes, there's more depth to it. And it's funny because I don't even really. I mean, I know people like online because I'll read horror movie blogs every once in a while, which is. There's people really into it. Like, I just scratched the surface. I'm like a fan.
Yes, I think that's it too. But like me not being into them at all, I'm like, oh, Ronnie's really into it.
Yes, it's all, it's very relative. And that's with anything, cooking. Like, I feel like people look at me, like, it's actually one of the trainers at the gym. They're like, oh, you're a really good cook. And I'm like, I don't know if I'd call myself a good cook. I just like cooking.
Or really into it. Or like fitness. Yeah. I mean, I get that all the time. And somebody said it the other day, and I can't lie. Sometimes it annoys me. But a woman said, I could fit into conversation, but she's like, I mean, you are like, oh, I said to my friend, Allison, why did you introduce us? Carla is like so into fitness. And I'm like, wow, really? I do not see myself that way at all, but it's all your perspective and what you're into.
Yes, yeah. And the interesting thing about being into fitness, I think, because I'm assuming people will look at me now because I do the gym all the time. Like there are times where I go to the gym twice a day, and my logical brain even goes, God, I'm crazy. If people think I'm crazy, why would I do that? But then it's like, just the way my schedule works out and what I'm into and the activities I'm bringing my kids to. And I was thinking about this yesterday, but I'm like, but I don't read that much and I don't garden and I don't do all these other things. So I'm like, and so I thought to myself, like I was almost in a weird way justifying it to myself. I was like, well, but this is what I'm into right now. Like, and if once like my interests or priorities change, then I would be doing something. I could, you could laugh at somebody who like, there's a guy down the street. His yard is amazing. He has it's like a horticultural dream. There's just all these landscaping and plants and flowers I've never seen. And I think this guy spends a heck of a lot of time planting all those plants and stuff. And I think that's what he's into. I'm sure he doesn't go to the gym twice a day.
Definition. Yes. It's like, it's funny. I was thinking this weekend about the food thing. Apparently this is our intro this week. And I'm doing, this is going to be a pre-thing because I was writing about it this morning. I'm going to blog about it. Thinking about what you said weeks ago about having people over, thinking about what I said, because I lie to myself frequently in December about coming to Austin, and I was going to do Friday night meatballs. Do you remember that post that was going around? So it was the Friday night meatballs. And then truly I got paralyzed because I was like, this is very overwhelming. They're all talking about the homemade sauces they do. I'm only going to do Prego. Do I have to do meatballs? What if they're overcooked and nasty? When do I put the pasta on? It became too much. So I found a whole nother notion that is sweeping the country, or at least my house, called Friday night crappy dinners.
Oh, love it.
Yes. And so I'm going to start doing the crappy dinners. But I look at a good friend of mine who defines herself, and it's her passion, like the guy with the horticulture, and how she relaxes is the cooking. But then this was like, oh, this is turn the whole thing on the head for me. She said to me recently, I'm having people over. I'm like, oh, you love that. And she said, sometimes I wish that I were you. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, you put the bar basically down on the floor. It's so low that people come over and they're like, oh, look, you made anything. Woohoo!
Right.
Said, I almost wish I didn't do that to myself. So I think sometimes when you have those hobbies like the yard that people see, I wonder if they don't turn into pressure on yourself.
I think they do. I think you set your own expectation bar and then
you project it maybe on others. Because I would never go to my friend's house. Anything she makes is probably better than what I could ever make.
We talked about this once, and I am the same way with cooking. I love to cook, and I do Thanksgiving, I do Easter, I do Christmas, I do I enjoy grilling. I cook for people. But then when certain people come over, if they're not super close to me, like my parents or my kids, I do have anxiety because I'm like, and it's not that I don't think I could do it. It's just like, I feel like I've set my own bar high and I want it to be like Food Network. You watch a Food Network grilling show and it's like amazing. And they have sangria and they have all these tablescapes.
Oh my gosh. And people, if they don't get food poisoning at my house, and it's not because it's not which I can't stand. And we've talked about the woman who's like, I can't even boil water. I hate that as well. It's just not my passion. So I try to get it done really quickly so we can hang out and chit chat.
Right.
But I love, and I cannot wait to edit and share this post, but just come to my house for a crappy dinner. I mean, I'm going the whole 9. Banana pudding, where it's just the instant pudding and Nilla wafers and a big ass spoon, total Southern weird. Let us just be together. You can bring wine. I have wine. Let's just be together.
I know. And that's that's the cool part. Well, and you have to what's the goal? Is the goal to have an amazing, what's the byproduct that you really want out of it? Like, it's not that you've made a perfect meal. It's that you get to spend time with friends. So
and sometimes it is, you're right. Cause for some people, I do think it is. Same friend belonged to this group, which I was not invited to join, called, it made me laugh that, okay, now this is a really long introduction to the episode, but it was called Supper Club. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but SUPPA, but I call it Supper Club.
like a book club, but
yes. Going to people's homes. And what was the goal? Having this decadent, amazing meal with palate cleansers. And it always made me giggle. What are you doing tonight? I have Supper Club.
No. See, for me, that's the I'll drop. We have friends who also appreciate really good dinners out, like like the kind where you spend obscene amounts of money and you probably shouldn't, but you don't care because
And
you're
at least
old.
somebody else is making it then. Yes.
Yeah. And you're older and you're like, you know what? This is worth it because I have
entertain.
no kids. I'm entertained. I have adult conversation and a bottle of wine. And this is my entertainment for the evening. And so we have friends and we go maybe like once every 3 months or so, we'll like connect with each other and go, let's pick a fancy restaurant and spend obscene amounts of money on an amazing meal. And then like
even that I get because someone else is doing the making.
We do that because we don't. Yeah. And I could see myself, I think maybe in like 10 years when the kids are older, wanting to like invite people over and like just to push myself to, I don't know, practice better cooking, like to practice.
And imagine no kids, you could spend all day Saturday doing it.
Yes.
But I just say you're right with the goal. And you're right with the goal because the goal is come over, go swimming, hang out. And I love nothing lays it out what this is going to be than crappy dinner. I mean, great. It's so freeing. It'd just be like grill. But even that spaghetti, the Friday night meatballs, I found that paralyzing. I was like, well, they judge me if I use Prego.
Well, and it's very, I can wrap this into wycwyc, right? It's very wycwyc to kind of identify what your goal or the outcome is that you want, and then not worry about the peripheral. Like it's kind of like chill out about all the other stuff and go, okay, what's the purpose of what I'm doing?
And once people know the purpose, it's like that whole book, Language of Encouragement. Once they know what your goal is, I just want to hang out. I never see you. I want you to see our new house. Come over.
Right. And it's I would argue it's the same for anything like the guy who gardens. Like if his goal is to like his goal might be he really enjoys gardening and the byproduct is he has this amazing yard, but like if part of it dies or whatever, I'm speaking for him, but I would justify it for myself.
He'll be our guest next week.
But I still like the act of doing it is what's enjoyable for him. Like you would argue, like that's my argument for people who are trying to lose weight. Like you have to start to enjoy the journey, right? So
and who was it that said about the attachment to the outcome that we put up on the blog? I loved that because that seems like I would be curious with that guy. We need to have him on because if he's doing this without attachment to the outcome, he wouldn't care if you walked past quite literally you and thought, damn, it looked so much better last spring.
Right, exactly.
He has no attachment to the outcome.
Exactly. And that's how, it's funny. That's how I kind of feel about my body in a certain way. I used to be all about I want to be skinny. I want to look like Victoria's Secret model. I want to like prance on the beach in a bikini and be as thin as possible. But then when I started to like appreciate the kind of like fitness, healthy journey aspects of like pushing myself to try better foods or like try to lift heavier at the gym, slowly my thought process has turned into my body is what it is. I'm having too much fun with the activities that I'm doing. And like, so it's like definitely like once you see that, you can see that almost in all areas of your life. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? The outcome is great, and we've talked about this, the process.
Do we start there and come back there? Because I'm repeatedly shocked. I don't know if my 9-year-old's kind of babyish, not deliberately, although I used to read every single magazine that came out because I did the, like say elliptical or whatever it was. And then I stopped subscribing when I stopped doing the elliptical. So they aren't around the house, that media. Mm-hmm. But she has no connection, and it's coming, to I eat X and what it does for my body. I eat 3 dozen donuts in one sitting. She has no connection between weight and food or activity and how the body looks. It all feels. And I'm not explaining this well, but it's so interesting to me that she runs because she loves it. She wants to take the jog. Yes, because it's fun. And there's no connection between, she loves it. She's strong. She hasn't even made that connection. So it's not necessarily all negative, but oh my gosh, I've been running around and monkey barring and playground and all this. And she'll like show me her little muscles, and she doesn't make a connection there either. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, no. Well, I think I have a post where I say you're creating a foundation where she just does what she does, and and it's a way I'm jealous of kind of my kids.
Start there?
I don't know if I'm sure, I don't know where it goes wrong.
Seriously,
I'm not sure.
I don't, and I say this all the time, I pray it's as strong as people say, but I don't believe it. And maybe it's different because she's adopted. But when everyone says, oh my goodness, if the mom has no body issues, then the child won't. And I think in our society, television, magazines.
Yeah, because my mom really didn't have a lot of body issues, and I had a lot more than she did. Like, I think she had small ones, but it wasn't a driving force in her life. I didn't have a mom who was like looking in the mirror, like, oh, like it was just, she maybe made a few offhand comments, and maybe that's all it takes. Who knows?
I don't know.
I feel like my body image was magnified in comparison to hers. And I'm not sure if it was a combination of media or whatever. I don't know. Ryan, my kids, my thing is about showing them, like, when they see me work out every morning, they see me run, they run with me, they go to the gym with me. And it's all about like, I'm like them in a sense. I'm like, hey guys, look, I could do a pull up now.
Yeah.
You know, like your kids are always like, hey mom, look, I can tumble or whatever it is. I'm like one of them. I'm like celebrating the things that my body can do. So I'm hoping that that's what's rubbing off on them. And I mean, I've already seen it with Ryan, you know, he'll be 10 in a week. And he himself he's already becoming self-motivated to do pull-ups, like, because he sees me work that's one of my things, because it wasn't something that I'm very weak at. Yes. And I see him practicing on his own now, and then he'll every few days, a week or so, he'll be like, mom, look, I can hold it now and do a negative, like he was doing negatives off the bar.
How they really, and this is something that I hear you say about him, I see it with Emma, but yet I still can't believe it, that all the studies say even when he becomes 11 and 12 and peers seem to be number one, it's not that. It still is always the parents that they want to be like, and that they want their approval. And even when they kind of seem like they're looking outward, they still want your approval and they still want to be like you.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I had someone say to me once, I made a joke on the blog that I know it's coming, like the day that my kids won't want me around and I'll be embarrassing them. And I had a woman make a comment and it really stuck with me. And she said, you know, it may not happen. Because
people always say that to me too. And I'm
they're like, it may not happen because you're so involved in their lives. And so you've already established an open line of communication. You're very, like, you haven't distanced yourself from your kids. You involve them in everything you do. She's like, and she was like, you might be surprised.
And I think that Ryan and Emma both already have which I think is so good. Ugh, mom, stop. You're embarrassing me. Because I don't want that flip side. Yes. I don't want the flip side of, my mom is my best friend.
Yes, yeah, you don't want it too far. Yeah.
Yes. But maybe it will be like that.
I don't know. It's fun. Like, we won't know until it happens. It's fun to really, like, I know I watch him now get on the bus and we joke even, like, I'll try to kiss him on the forehead before he goes. And I'm like, no, come here. And I'm like, I'm embarrassing you. Like, we make a joke out of it. It's not serious. And you're right. I think that
maybe you nailed it. Yeah. Yes, because actually with 3 kids, I feel like my mom was always a little bit overwhelmed, but it's all the dynamic of how you react to it. And I think so many, not judging, I'm not there yet, moms are crushed that first time their child doesn't want to kiss them goodbye.
Oh, and you're right.
And then the kid sees it and there's no humor there.
Oh, for us, it's all humor. I was like, am I embarrassing you? I'm always... And I'm like, in a funny way, not in like a mean-spirited way.
And like, it's so good for them to get those wings. Well, then they'll come back.
It's funny too, because I think on the flip side of that, like, I joke about it, but then he came to me the other day and he's been buying lunch at school, but he wanted to bring lunch for today was field day and he wanted to bring lunch, but he's like, mom, do we have another lunch box? And I'm like, why? He goes, I really don't want to bring the alien lunch box that I used to use in kindergarten to school. So I was like, of course you could use my lunchbox. It's fine. But I think so there's a balance of me even understanding, like, yes, I understand it would be embarrassing for you, a 10-year-old, to bring an alien lunchbox to school. And then, like, honoring his, like, not rolling my eyes at it or whatever, going, oh, sure, we'll get you a lunchbox. And so when you balance out kind of. Or
make it a big deal.
Yeah, you don't make it a big deal, and you balance out kind of the acknowledging of his feelings and because for a 10-year-old, it's a huge deal what lunchbox you bring, and not minimizing that, like, not diminishing. Yeah. So you know what I mean? And then combine that with the joking, haha, I'm going to embarrass you. I think it's a good mix of, it sets the foundation again for like them to just kind of eye roll you away in a joking way, not in a serious way.
And knowing you're not really going to go away. I mean, if we want to, okay, watch this, I'm going to do a huge reach, but it does all tie back into, yes, it's our parent-child relationship, but thinking about the whole, we've talked about the whole wycwyc community and online and encouraging each other. And it's figuring out what people respond to. It's the joking around. Yeah, I really don't think you're going to get out there and run today. It does not sound like you're going to do it. Joking around with someone because that's what motivates them. And it's figuring out what people respond to and letting people, by Emma's response to things that I do and say, I realize what works with her and what doesn't. It's all the same. I swear. It's like
it's a people skill that you learn.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Like sometimes I fear that I'm almost too, like I'll reread something I wrote and I'll be like, they could have totally taken that the wrong way.
That's why I'm emoticon McGee.
As a joke, and I meant it in a positive way, but I could see how it could be skewed negative.
And it's hard on the blog. I mean, I like go back and rewrite because you can't use smiley faces. But yes,
no, I know.
I'm going to try to do my segue into this article I wanted to share, which is not very strong, but it does talk about how small changes in our actions can have a huge effect on happiness, motivation, willpower, creativity, anxiety. So perhaps that is something that we can convey to the kids. There you go.
Yes. Well, anyone. Well, I think awareness. Everything we talk about relates because it's all wycwyc concepts.
These are interesting. Some of them I thought, yes, it's easy to understand why it works. They're positive action exercises. So mood lifting, that kind of thing. We've talked about this first one a bunch, and I really think it works for me in this article, and it is from success.com. It talks about the way to feel happy. Relax the muscles in your forehead and cheeks, contract the muscles near the corner of your mouth. It actually blows my mind how powerful this is when I'm grumpy to just lift the corners of my mouth. It's like I can feel whatever the chemical is washing through my brain. I can't be grumpy if the corners of my mouth are lifted.
Well, so basically this whole article is kind of more fuel for the fake it till you make it concept, right? So, okay, that's what I thought it was.
Yes, the next one I kind of skipped over. It talks about moving on negative experiences. But the third one, I love this because this is something I so believe, and it's the power of secrets.
I do love this too.
Yes, creating depth, intimacy. It's talking about connection. And I love that they give suggestions this is tips for increasing your own happiness through deepening your relationships with others. And it kind of ties back in with the whole, we're all really new at being the wycwyc tribe, especially on Twitter. That seems to be a great place for interaction. And so it's asking each other questions. I see you always tweet about running. How long have you been running? That kind of thing.
Yes. Actually, this reminds me of, and I did this naturally, to be honest. It's funny. After we had Ryan, I'm not going to remember what they're called, but I noticed the husband and I, we had a new infant and we, into toddler, we weren't talking as much because we're big talkers. We like to talk. And I bought a box of cards. It was like, I've seen them before in different categories. They're like, it's like a cube and it comes
with like conversation things.
Yes, a conversation. Okay. And they had one for couples. And so it was specific, and it was like any questions, like some of them are like, if you found your spouse cheating on you, what you would do? Like these big, deep ones, but then other ones are kind of lighthearted, or if there's one thing you could change about me, what would you change? Things like that. And for a stretch, when maybe Ryan was like 18 months or something, I said, can we do one of these a day before you go to bed? And it was just
how did he respond? Because that was making yourself vulnerable. He even ask.
You know what? I don't really remember. I think at first he kind of did the typical spouse eye rolling, like seriously, but then every once in a while I'll still pull them out. Like sometimes if I feel like we haven't talked for a really long time and we're just like laying in bed, I was like, let's do a couple questions. He's like, oh, okay. But then he gets into it.
Yes.
So it's kind of fun, but it's very similar to this. And I think the more you get to know people, I think the idea, because it talks about, the whole personal secrets, like how many times, even a close friend, where you guys are in on something, and not in to a point where you make other people feel uncomfortable, but like, let's say you're at a party and someone says something and it reminds you or your partner or your spouse or your friend of something else, and you shoot each other that look, that you're just gonna like, or a smirk, and you're like, oh, that's funny because of XYZ. And and it's just this exchange of glance, even. That's really powerful, I think, for relationships, not even spouse, just relationships in general, people that you're really close with. And I think there's a lot of power in that.
Yes, and it's the unspoken. I mean, I know I like to bring it up now every 5 minutes, but the whole connection thing that my daughter's teacher used, where it's just if you're watching the video, the C sign by the shoulder.
Yeah, I feel
no words. And it's amazing how secrets bond us. I mean, I buy into given my therapy background from school, we're only as sick as our secrets, but I also think turning our words inside out, a la our book, it's the secrets that bind us, because I really feel like I know you.
And secrets are maybe a horrible word, and it's a semantics thing, because maybe it's not secrets. It's almost like
stories.
Depth. It's depth. Yes, there's a depthness to people,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like new friends can be exhausting, because it's like you're dating again. You don't know any of my stories.
That's true. And I think that's sometimes why it's harder to make friends I value friendships that I actually have made in the last few years so much, because I realize how lucky I am to have made them. Because I think as you get older, it's so much harder to connect.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And plus, like, I have this theory. I'm full of theory. It's not really theory. It's a hypothesis, right? Because I haven't proven it yet. So I have this hypothesis that people, as they age, become almost characters of themselves. Like their personalities get magnified, because you become much more comfortable. Yeah, you become much more comfortable in your skin, who you are. You've had years, like I've had 39 years almost, to sift through my thoughts and to come to conclusions and to just acknowledge the way I feel about things. And I know how much thought I've given to them. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like as you get older, you become not more set in your ways, which I guess maybe you do, but you just become much more confident, choosy, and less willing to change who you are for friendships. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes, like, I value friendships I've had a whole lifetime, but sometimes when I meet someone new and we have that immediate connection, I really value that, because I know how hard it is. And the fact that we've become friends, and I didn't need to be the pushover I was in my 20s, if that makes sense. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. I got on a friend.
Well, and it was funny, because I remember my husband saying to me once, and at the time I didn't get it. I was like, that's weird, because I would think it would be boring. But he said, I love when I've been in friendships, relationships long enough that I'm hearing that story for like the third time or the fourth time. Whereas so many people think, oh, shoot me now, I've heard this story before. He's like, I feel like, oh, I'm really comfortable with you. Yes, I know your stories. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting way.
That's an interesting way to put it. That's in my mind, like a la the book, as you said before, that's a trick of reframing, right? So you can think of it this way, like, oh God, here goes my husband again telling that story. He tells every Christmas.
Imagine George's parents on Seinfeld. Yes. But he's like, no, I love that, because I feel comfortable.
Yes. Or you can frame it in a way of positivity, like, wow, I cannot believe I've been married for 20 years, and it's so cool that we have these stories. Like, it's just a different.
And I already know this. I know.
Yeah, it's a different perspective, which the fourth point in your article, the pull me, push you thing. If you're dieting. Yes.
If you're dieting, try behaving as if you don't like the unhealthy food. I love this. Research shows that pushing, and I love this because it's about food and everything, pushing an object away from you and behaving as if you didn't like it makes you dislike it. Bread comes to the table.
I was going to say, I do this.
Yes. Because why? I know the common wisdom ages ago and a little bit now was, I am on a diet. I go out to dinner with 8 of my friends. Can we have no bread, please? And the other 8 are like, dude, I
really wanted bread.
Yes. And why should they not have it? Just because it's your choice, push it toward them. And also pulling it toward you. I want to kind of try this because we're going through a little bit of a vegetable thing. It's height of the summer, so everything's sweet, the fruits and all that. And so I'm having trouble getting her to eat the vegetables. I wonder if that would help. Pulling it toward you makes you feel positively about things.
That's interesting. I'm trying to think I think people naturally do this. I mean, I do when I think of like we go to this one Asian restaurant where they do sushi and they always give those fried wontons with the duck sauce,
Yes.
And the kids like them. And the kids are, sometimes when you have a 4-year-old, you just want calories in the kid. So you don't really care what he's eating. So I don't mind him picking on it. And I always push them to their side of the table.
Yes.
And then when we get edamame, I go to pull it towards my side of the table. But I think it's funny because that's an unconscious thing you do. And I am definitely one of those people that just eat with whatever's in front of me. Like if it's in front of me, I'm going to eat it. So
and then other people react to you. I don't know whether one or both kids would think if asked, does mom like these? Yeah, probably because you do the pushing motion, they would think, no, mom doesn't like those. She pulls whatever, and that's what she likes.
I never really thought about that.
Sometimes how other people view me helps me.
I never thought about the unintentional message you're sending by doing it as well. Yes. Yeah. And I think there's even more power in sometimes you have to build up like the whole sending the bread. I think when I first started, telling the waitress I didn't need the bread was almost an important stage I needed to go through because I couldn't trust myself yet to have it around. And I think acknowledging that for some people, I think when you're first starting, and I don't want to use the word, you're not weaker or stronger. You're just not as experienced yet
or it's trust in yourself.
Yes, you don't trust yourself enough. Yes. So in the beginning, I think controlling your environment is really important. And that's how I lost all 70 pounds. I was very strict on controlling my environment and that helped me. But then as you get more comfortable with yourself, and like you said, you start trusting yourself, I've become a person where I can push it away. And that's good enough. I don't have to not be around. It doesn't have to be in my presence, And
it's interesting that the studies show that tricks our brain into thinking we don't want it, the push away. The next one, muscle magic, kind of interesting. People who are highly motivated often tense their muscles as they prepare to spring into action. Doesn't make a ton of sense, but goes on to say you can boost your willpower by tensing your muscles. Next time you feel your willpower draining, make a fist, contract your biceps, press your thumb and first finger together, and it will increase your willpower.
Interesting.
I'm going to try that one.
The second half of that one is interesting too. If you want to persevere with something, try crossing your arms. By folding arms, people were acting as if they were persistent, and they continued to solve the puzzle for nearly twice as long as those who had their hands on their thighs. So basically your body, the way you're projecting your body actually helps you either stick with a problem or throw your hands up.
And I think that makes me feel angry. Like it makes me think closed body. Like, oh.
Actually, crossing my arms makes me feel like I've already solved it, like smitten with myself.
Yes, I know. I'm like, I think angry.
But I do the idea of throw your hands up. Like I use that a lot. Like sometimes you just, like if you're trying to actively solve a puzzle, and you physically throw your hands up, you've now told your brain, I'm over this. I can't do this. Whereas if you I would argue actually, if you put your hands on your hip or if you cross your arm, that you're actually going, no, I'm going to solve this. Like your body language is telling your brain you're going to be persistent. I could totally see how that would work. Actually, that's interesting.
Especially throwing the hands up. It's interesting how our body language, I think of it, and I've noticed in myself, I was having a conversation the other day with my arms crossed and I'm like, oh crap, I'm showing that I am closed. I do not mean to send that message. So I'm slowly trying to unwrap, but I never thought about it as sending a message to ourselves.
No, you think about it in other people, but I think your body language, I tell Ryan all the time, like slouching even, right? Are you not?
Yes. Yeah.
Then you don't look, or if you're paying attention in a class, like if you're in a classroom environment or like a presentation and you're like slouching in your seat, it's not only the impression, like you're telling everybody else you're not interested, but then even in your own brain. Whereas if you sit forward and you lean in, you kind of force yourself to pay more close attention.
And it's what we're used to seeing. I went to pick up my daughter the other day from a friend's house and her friend said to her, why is your mom walking like that? And I was eavesdropping on this whole thing. And my daughter turns to her and says, because she has really good posture. That's how we're supposed to. I didn't even notice I was doing it. That's how we're supposed to walk, standing up straight. But we get, whether it was good posture or not, I think we grow accustomed to seeing everyone slouching, everyone crunched over the computer, everyone just, I don't know. But she's like, why is your mom walking like that? My daughter's like, I don't know. She's got good posture.
That's just how she walks.
I know. Of course, the funnier would be if I was dancing on the sidewalk. Okay, the next
which I find myself doing more and more, which is really, I was dancing today as we were walking and I thought, oh my God, people must think I'm freaking crazy right now.
That goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, the being embarrassed. I think this has to come because you and I think are the same in that we're not talking about the plain old, oh, there's mom dressed normally and walking me to the bus. I'm humiliated by her. It's more, there's mom singing Uptown Funk at the top of her lungs. I'm embarrassed. The next one is one that we talk about all the time, breaking habits. People trying to lose weight were asked to adopt a more flexible approach to life. This harkens back to the book. If you don't have the book, get the book because this is all in there. And the small changes help people break their words, habits. Try to undo unwanted habits by behaving as if you are a flexible person. I'm going to leave that one there. And if you want more information on it, wycwyc, what you can, when you can, Amazon, your local book.
One of my biggest pet peeves are people who are very, not strict's the wrong word, overwhelmed and overly concerned about like either the new diet they're on or, well, they're not going to have any gluten-free there. What am I going to do? Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I think to myself, like, it's all cool if you want to be gluten-free, that's cool. But you're not going to be able to maintain that level of intensity. Like I was the same way with low carbs in the, those early 2000s when Atkins was everywhere. And it was like, I can never go to an Italian restaurant again. I can never eat pizza. I can never eat pasta. I can't eat rice. Oh my God. Oh no, there's buns. No way. Can't do it. And then I realized that when you become more flexible and you just go, oh, I'll just order the burger and just put the bun on the side of the plate. And you don't make a big deal about it. Like you just solve the problem. Like, instead of like, and I guess I will bring up Thea again as one of our favorite wycwyc members of the community. She was a couple weeks ago was saying about how there was no gluten-free options at her son's baseball game. Yes. And she said, I ordered something and threw the bun away. And I thought, good for you. You just dealt with it. You didn't make a big deal about it. And I didn't mean it as in like being gluten-free is bad or whatever, but you just deal. And I think that's where that flexibility comes in. And once you become more flexible, I guess it's flexibly consistent is that our chapter?
Yes. Having been gluten-free forever, like some 20 some years, I always think and say, because I'll go to people's homes, I never make a big deal about it. I don't care. And they're like, oh, you're gluten-free. I'm so sorry. And I will say to them, it's whatever, I'll find something and it's one meal. I am not moving in with you. If I was moving in with you, then perhaps I would need to tell you all this stuff, but whatever. I'm here for the company. It all comes back to what we were talking about. What is your goal? Oh my goodness. Now I'm thinking, was that in our that only the special people watching
I don't know. I cannot remember. We're just chatting for like and it's the same with anything. I see that even with like my friends. I have a lot of friends, of course, being a CrossFitter, there's lots of paleo people. And there's definitely a big difference between the paleo people who are like militant paleo people.
Yes.
And then people that are just going, oh no, I don't want any beans. That's cool. I'll just have some of that bacon.
And for me, the militant thing, whether it's paleo, it's what, again, we talk about all the time and in the book, when you're so narrow focused, you miss so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the weird thing is no one's ever telling you not, I think, like, again, I've sifted through all my thought process on this so much. And I'm like, I think it's great when people like have an easy way to like define their diet. Oh, I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian, I'm paleo.
It is. Yeah.
And that's great. And I think that's great. And like for me, that's not for me because I've learned that I can't define my diet because then it puts me into a corner. And I am that personality type where I become obsessive about it. So I've learned to just go, like, actually somebody just asked me I think you saw it too on my Facebook wall. It's like, oh, it's too hard to be paleo. And I guess he was assuming I'm paleo. And I'm like, I'm not paleo. I'm like, I don't need to define my diet. I just eat as clean as possible or whatever the heck that even means. I don't even know what that means. I just make the best choices I can day in and day out. That's what wycwyc is all about, right? So I think for some personality types, the defining your diet and becoming strict about it backfires. Like, I know for me, it does. Yes. So I've learned I'm going to distance myself from defining what my diet is because I feel like it does more harm than good. But I think for some people, it helps them to go, well, that's not paleo. I can't eat it. And then, so they have a clear cut line, but I think the flexibility people tend to be able to stick longer term. That's just my opinion. But
I agree. And I almost think flexibility with absolutely anything. It's why we talk about wycwyc is applicable across the whole board. When you're narrow focused with anything, you box yourself into a corner.
I do. I agree. Okay, we weren't supposed to talk about that one, but we did anyway. I'm sorry.
I'm going to leave you this last one, and then we can post the article link. But again, it's so interesting. It talks about our bodies, which healthy living is about our bodies, but it talks about way to change your attitude, lessen anxiety, increase your happiness is through power posing.
Like yoga-esque or?
No, it's almost they talk about how it releases testosterone. So it's that power. So do this. Okay. If you're sitting down, lean back, look up, interlock your fingers behind your head and look up.
All right.
And that's a power pose. That's releasing testosterone. If you're standing, place your feet flat on the floor, push your shoulders back and your chest forward. It's like that girl asking why I walk that way. And these power poses are supposed to increase and boost your confidence. Even if you just take a simple moment sitting at your desk and make a fist, it's supposed to lessen anxiety and boost confidence.
You know what? I think I do this when I'm taking a break. No, seriously, when I'm writing something or if I have to contemplate, a response to a comment or something like that, I lean back in my chair and I do this all the time. I never really thought about that.
It's interesting. I like this because I definitely can get caught up in I'm feeling frazzled. I'm feeling just vaguely not happy. I'm feeling not confident. And I do like how the whole article, and we'll link it in the post, gives easy tips to do quickly and that we can make habit, like the push away or the pull, and make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
Wycwyc, slip it in.
I think it's the awareness. When you read when I read an article like this, it's not that I'm going to adopt all 10 of these.
Right.
But there's this sense of awareness where sometimes it'll be very like, oh, I never thought about that. Or I don't do that. Maybe I should give it a try or vice, you know what I mean? And then
so much of that. And they're so easy because I love, and then we'll go to your articles like this, because you're right. It doesn't say, okay, so in order to feel better, you need to start 3 weeks out, get a notebook, make a plan. I'm like,
yes, no.
I could just stand up and do the
if you stand up straight, it might be beneficial to you.
Cross your arms.
Yes.
So that's my thing. I know it's the easy steps, and they all felt really wycwyc. And then I got your email that you have found another famous person who is wycwycing and doesn't know it.
So, okay. I love Robin. I'm going to profess my love for Robin Roberts. Do we not all love Robin Roberts? I
do.
Yes, there's just something about her that's very, very likable. So I caught this article because she recently gave a graduation speech at I'm pretty sure it's her alma mater. I think so, Emerson.
Interesting.
First of all, let me just say she wycwyced the entire speech because she didn't have anything prepared. And she even said it. She goes, I'm winging this. And she said, I'm going to gift all of you grads the benefit of a short commencement speech, which I thought was awesome because everyone knows when you're sitting at like a graduation, the last thing you want to do is hear somebody just talk for like 3 hours after you just sat through 18 meetings.
See, and that's so impressive to me because you and I, it took us forever to make our book so short. But I'm impressed that, because if I did something off the cuff, it would probably be really long. I would ramble.
Yes. You know what? I once had I have a colleague who, when I started teaching, I said, there's sometimes where I don't quite grasp the concept of it was the programming classes. And I'm like, there's some programming concepts I'm having a hard time grasping, but I have to teach a lesson on it. He goes, oh, don't worry. Once you stand in front of that class, it'll all come to you. And he was so right. And I almost did better off the cuff. Yes, it was really interesting. So I actually read the article and I thought, let me see if I can find the entire speech, which I found. They had it on ABC News.
I need to listen to it. Yeah.
And I listened to it kind of like a podcast while I was like doing other kind of very, what's the word I'm looking for? Tasks.
Boring, mundane.
Meditation.
Meditating.
Instead of meditating, like when I was like going through the mail or whatever, I was listening to.
Yes.
And so every once in a while though, I had to pause and take a note because she had some really good gems.
Interesting. Okay.
In there. Okay. So the gems are, well, first of all, one of the big focuses of her entire talk was dream big, but focus small. And I thought, such an easy concept of wycwyc. Like you might have all these grandiose plans. You want to be skinny and lose 80 pounds and you want to change your diet and you want to overhaul all these things and you want to live the life, be a world traveler. But what you have to focus on is what you could do
Small steps
today to
there.
get you one
Yes.
small step closer to that. And she starts to share a story about how she took a part-time job over a full-time opportunity when she was out of college because it was closer to what she wanted to be doing. So I thought,
yes,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot
it
of
is that question. Does this get me closer to or further away from my goal?
right. And so
and like with the food, how we've talked about, sorry, now I'm super excited.
go.
Sometimes you still look at the ho-ho and think this is getting me further away from where I want to be and whatever, I super want this.
Yes.
And so I love that. It's just the awareness. Okay.
Well, yeah. And it's really, I think for me, this is what I always define as those conscious decisions. You need to make that decision consciously.
Yeah.
So she was very conscious going, yes, this is an amazing full-time opportunity, but it's not what I want to be doing. Yeah. If I take this part-time opportunity and live check to check and scrape pennies together for the next 3 years, I may be able to get to that next level of the job I really want. So I think you, and either decision, and I had, again, that same colleague actually told me once when I was debating a job decision, whether or not I should leave a full-time position for a different full-time position. And I could not decide. I was like, I was crippled. And he goes, look, either decision you make will be the right decision for you. Yeah. Because you'll figure it out. But I think it's just weighing both and what your priorities are and what you see your future as and which one will get you closer to that future that you're envisioning. So I thought that was really, really powerful. So another gem that I copied and pasted out of the transcript, which by the way, the transcript of the speech is hysterical because it's automated. So it didn't really capture everything she was saying in the correct, like there was a lot of words. It was really funny. It was really funny. But one of them was, if you don't put yourself in a position for good things to happen, you're going to make things more difficult for yourself. And so she was, again, telling stories about her own career path and how she got to where she was, and about how it's more important to, again, make those decisions that put yourself in a position of things you can take. You don't want to make your job harder for yourself, basically, which I thought was
perfectly goes back to the fitness, how you've said, and everybody says it all the time, I need to just get out of my own damn way.
It's true. She also talked a lot about fear. And I thought it was really interesting about how everyone feels fear. So I have this whole little couple sentences. She says, so I do get in the habit of saying now, and don't worry about the fear factor coming on. So and she was talking to grads about getting that job, putting yourself out there, those kinds of things. She said, everybody has felt and will feel fear. It is something that you realize that if you wait for the past, you could be sitting on the sidelines for a very long time. And this is where like the transcript, I should have modified the transcript, but I have found is that when fear knocks, it will put, wait, now I can't, this is the way the transcript writes, and then we'll see if we can translate it. And one I have found is that when fear knocks, and it will put an accident too much faith. Oh, faith answers the door. So when fear knocks, faith answers the door. That's what she was saying. When fear comes knocking, I do not know what it is that you want to do, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I do not know what it is that you want to do. I don't know your hopes and dreams. Only you know that. But I do know that you have to put yourself in a position for great things to happen for you, which I thought, again, it's very like, yes. you have to, and I was equating it to like creating that environment. You have to create your environment. You have to kind of carve your own way.
I really realized I love how we talked in the fear episode, and I quoted this today to someone because I finally believe it. On the other side of fear is freedom. And it's so trite. And it's like, but I don't think I ever really believed it or got it until the past few weeks.
No, I totally agree. And and I had that whole comfort zone quote I shared that time. I think we did that one too. She ends with, and this was my favorite part, about optimism. And she talked about how she's an optimistic person, but how she had to work on that, and how optimism is like a muscle, kind of like I would equate confidence to. And she said, optimism is like a muscle that gets stronger with use. Get into the habit of being optimistic, and it makes things a lot easier. So again, it's kind of a little cheesy in a way. Oh, just think positively. But I think
no, I love that. And it's so raw and honest, because I'm embarrassed to say I never thought of it like that. I always thought, because I'm such a believer in like depression, everything being chemical, and there's really nothing we can do, that people were either optimists or pessimists. So that's really interesting.
It's true. And it's funny because I think you could be optimistic to a fault, And most
Oh my
people,
gosh.
there's like a middle ground to optimism, but I do think it is a learned behavior. I do think it's something you could teach yourself, like confidence, like happiness.
Yes.
I think I guess some people would argue only you know, like yourself. And I know for me personally, I used to not be. I wasn't as happy as I was now. I'm consciously working on my happiness. It's something that.
But you seem like an optimist. Like I think of, God bless my mother, but her first response is, if I gave to her with some idea, that will never work. You seem like I would peg you for an optimist in the sense of, I come to you with an idea and you'd say, oh yeah, how can we make this happen?
I don't know. Sometimes, well, yes, but see, you nailed it, because I'm not an optimist where I'm blinded by it. I'm much more of a realist where I'm like, that's not going to work. But if we do this, it could work. It might possibly work.
And that seems positive to me. Yes.
Yeah. Point. So I would think I am overall a positive thinker, but I try to be really realistic with and I don't know if I could share this story, if it'll make sense in the context, but I used to be, I think, optimistic to a fault, where I remember having a conversation with an old colleague. This was like when I was right out of college, so I was very optimistic. And I said something about, I'm like, I think anyone could do anything. And my friend, his name was Joe. He's like, really? He's like, so if you're 4'11", do you really think you can like work your way up to becoming a professional basketball player? And I was like, well, but that's unrealistic for them to be a basketball player. So, and then he's like, well, yeah, so you have to be a little bit choosier with what you're like, the words that you're using to describe this. And I'm like, no, you're right. I understood what he was saying, but I do also believe that like you could work hard and do, achieve most things if those things are realistic.
No, you're right. And it is because there's naivete. When you kept saying people who are overly optimistic, oh my gosh, this goes back to that. And this is a whole nother podcast. So I'll just leave Sheryl Sandberg. Did you read what she wrote about her husband? And so there's that element of sometimes airy platitudes. Oh yeah, you totally can do that 4'11" person. You'll rock being a basketball player, where you're like, that's not anchored in reality. When you're talking about someone who's overly optimistic, it verges on unrealistic. But true optimism, I love what she's saying, how it's like a muscle.
It's a muscle that you can get better. You can get better at starting to see the bright side of things. And I think you could do that and be realistic. I think I think there's a balance there.
And it becomes reflexive. It becomes a habit.
It does become a habit. I agree. Okay. Do you have a wycwycer?
I do have a wycwycer of the week. And this goes back to the most basic thing. And I thought for a minute, should I change it? And then I thought, no. This is Andrea, Twitter. She's at ANDR348. It is the most basic. This is wycwyc with food in a nutshell. And she tweeted, splurged on raw chicken, but got steamed veggies instead of rice or chow mein. That's how you wycwyc. Panda Express.
Oh, I do remember. I was like, at first, I'm like, I don't remember this one. How did I miss it? But now I remember. Yeah.
So I have nothing else to add. That is perfect.
That is perfect. I can't find my wycwycer of the week. It was right here. But now I've lost it because I didn't copy and paste like I used to do. So I will. This was the second one that I thought maybe kind of do that smirk. First of all, can I do two wycwycers of the week? One would be Tracy P. Hansen, who is finally learning Twitter. Specifically for wycwyc, which I love. Yes, so I think, was it her first tweet? I'm not even sure, but she said, finally learning to use Twitter. But her second part of her tweet, it's never too late to learn. Totally agree.
Loved that too.
Love that. And then the second one I want to bring up is only because I also replied to her and it made me smile. This is her Twitter name is Master Emily Hess. So it's Emily City is her Twitter handle. And she says, a little rain won't stop me. Didn't kill it, but I did get out there and push through some hills. And I'm like, I love running in the rain. And so I think it's fun. I really related to that post because.
And when I read that, I wanted to say you did kill it. Like I might have.
Yes, I know. I kind of did the negative thing.
But no, I thought the whole thing. I love that too.
Yes, but I think I replied back to her and I just said, I love running in the rain because it always makes me feel like a badass, which it does.
This was so fun. I have to say, before we started recording, all I could say to you was, I am so tired. Yes, and now I'm totally jazzed.
I need everyone to know that literally Carla connected to Google Hangouts and went, ugh.
I'm so tired. I would like to give a shout out to the fact we're both wearing blue. Look at your shirt. If you're watching the video, we need more video people. Oh, CrossFit.
Yes,
And I've got
I'm
on
wearing my, actually, this is a
blue.
competition shirt, and I have a competition this Saturday at the same gym. So I'm very excited.
Do?
I do. I participated in this competition last year as well, and it's the weekend before Fit Blogging, and it gives me a day to just lift heavy things and not think about planning or executing anything.
Okay, it's not the weekend before Fit Blogging. Though. We got another one because we have Father's Day weekend.
Like 2 weekends in between. Oh, you're right. I do have a weekend. I have a weekend.
Like, uh-oh.
You know what? I'm accelerating. In my mind, I'm accelerating this month because I just want it to be in Denver and be June 25th.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I had a panic moment. Well, I am super excited. Well, I will not say I hope you win your competition. I will just say
I have no hopes in winning. I'm going to wycwyc it and have a blast. That's the goal. That is the process, and I love the process.
That's right. No attachment to the outcome. We will see you for episode 22.
Bye, guys. Wycwyc. Oh, we're done.
Oh my gosh, did you hear that at the end? Something.
No,
the dog must have rolled on the can you hear it now? On the remote. Literally the last 30 seconds the TV went on.
Oh, I didn't even notice. I don't think the mic picked it up, so that's cool.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, no, that's funny. I had the husband flagging me off screen, telling me it's time for lunch, and I'm like, "Stop
I'm gonna go do the brain dump." Yes, I'm gonna do the brain dump
and then I will work on editing this, and then let's talk about next week, like on Friday.
I feel so much better.
Yes, I do too.
Oh my gosh, this was awesome. All right, tell Bill I said hello, and I will talk to you later. Yay!
Bye.
Wycwyc.